And now, coming to you live from Huntsville Attic Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Phillips, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. New show, new format, some familiar faces, of course, and of course, in the Huntsville Attic as always. And the show has that new car smell, so I'm really excited. I am John Hammertime Holshoe, and with me always is Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Rockin' Robbie Billups. Hey, John, how you doing?
I am phenomenal. I'm excited about the show.
Me too. So, we haven't done a show in so long. Out with the old, in with the new. We appreciate you guys if you're coming over from the Smiler show. If you have never watched or listened to the Smiler show, check it out.
If you've watched it, you just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's still on the YouTube channel.
If you've been stalking us and watching it, we appreciate you anyway.
Yeah, but we're really excited to be doing Pop Culture Philosophers, new branding, new direction, new idiocracy, if you will.
Same assholes as the last show.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, tonight, guys, we got some official PCPers here with us tonight. Everybody, I want to introduce you to our guests tonight, because tonight we'll be talking about...
I wish we could use the Back to the Future music right here, but we get sued. Time travel.
Time travel. Don't need money. But you do need a time machine. All right, with us tonight, Justin Goldsmith.
Hey, this PCP show is way different than I imagined it.
Awesome. And Drew Matson with us.
What's up? You may now call me the best goddamn Drew Matson.
The best goddamn Drew Maston.
Madsen.
Madson.
Mastodon.
But only if you get closer into the mic, my friend. Please.
The biggest difference between this show and the previous shows is this one's recorded on the moon.
Yeah.
The other one was the Huntsville Attic. This was the moon.
It's the Earth Attic now.
Yeah. The time travel, which is an awesome concept. It's something we talked about, something we want to do for a while. So what a way to kick off PCP, Pop Culture Philosophers. So check out the website, check out the show. Oh, wait, you're listening to the show, so I don't know why I'm pimping the show that we're on.
Whatever.
So I guess to kick off the show would be, what would you do if you go back through time and do anything? What would you do? Let's start off with Goldsmith. What would you do? Anything.
Does it have to be back in time or into the future?
Anywhere.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back because I would probably screw something up and then not be alive when I got back or something like that, or America would be gone. I'd probably go into the future and see if Star Trek's actually a thing in 100 years or so.
Like still a TV show?
It's still popular.
If people are trekking the stars or still making the show.
It got canceled again. I'm going to go ahead and let you know.
I would also be curious to know if it was still going.
Yeah, well, in the show, they watch movies in Enterprise, then they stop.
Yeah, they don't really do that anymore.
Then they have holodecks, so...
There's a program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flying through space, watching a show about space.
Robbie, what would you do? Anything. One thing you could do.
There's lots of things you could do. You could meet people. You could go places. You could see important events. I'd go buy comics. I'd go buy old comic books.
Vintage comics?
Yeah, I'd go check out Marvel comics from the 60s and DC stuff from the 30s. I'd buy a whole bunch of comics, and I would probably forget to buy 2 copies of each and wind up not wanting to sell them. So I wouldn't get rich or nothing. But, no, of course I'd sell them, right? Yeah, right? I'd buy comics, dude. That's what I'd do. What would you do?
Easy answer. Bang Goldsmith's mom.
Oh, man.
I would go back through time and be his daddy.
I was talking to Drew earlier about how I was going to say that, and I completely forgot.
You were going to go back and bang your mom?
Your mom. Specifically,
this is really Back to the Future-ish really quickly.
That's a little childish, guys.
I think the answer, it's supposed to be the answer we're supposed to say. We're a bunch of selfish pricks. We're supposed to say, kill Hitler. Drew.
Are you people insane? Like, you're talking about going back to the future, you're talking about killing Hitler, you're talking about buying a comic. Anything can happen. Like you could buy a comic. That one person who would have bought that comic
was Todd McFarlane. Thankfully, he's like wiped out of existence.
He ain't gonna buy a comic in the 30s. All right. So somebody who's gonna have a nice, healthy, prosperous life, who's gonna have that comic and cherish it for the rest of his life, he's gonna kill himself. You're going to cause something to somebody. It's going to completely fuck their day up.
Well, that's a valid point.
Them's the breaks.
So you would do nothing. You would do nothing at all.
No, I'd be the observer. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I'd even step out of the time machine, because if I bent that one blade of grass, someone's going to trip.
Yeah. What if that time machine lands and crushes and kills Hitler? Why?
You know, it's funny because one of the greatest time travel stories ever is Back to the Future, which is just now celebrating its 30th anniversary. In fact, this is the year that Back to the Future 2 takes place.
Yeah, they
sometime
come
in
back to-
October.
yeah, October.
Like October 26th or something like that. Which is funny because all those pictures kept popping up for the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
That today's the day. But
They're
it's
all
not.
fake.
Yeah, it's all fake. Still,
would
still,
What?
it's fake.
There's fake stuff on the internet?
Still, it's fake.
Oh, no.
But that's probably one of the best examples of time travel in a movie in the popular mindset, in the zeitgeist, if you will. And you mentioned if you go back and change things, it can be terrible for the future, and that's what that movie deals with. Right now, it's okay though to change things to make it better, but that's kind of an incidental thing that happens in the movie.
Yeah, you're
But
trying to correct stuff,
Yeah.
and it turns out better.
So one of the reasons why we started thinking about time travel is it is the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future. Of course, directed by Robert Zemeckis, who did other such movies like Forrest Gump.
Little Forrest Gump. You guys ever heard of that Forrest Gump film?
Romancing the Stone.
It's on my Netflix queue.
Have you never seen it? That's actually a good movie. It's a
And
good
then the
movie.
sequel, what's the other one? That's a pair.
Jewel of the Nile.
Jewel
I
of the
believe,
Nile, yeah, that's-
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was going to be called Rock.
Yeah, I like
Solid or
Robert
something.
Zemeckis.
Is it actually a
Zemeckis.
sequel, or is it like just a new movie with a different formula and or the same formula but different characters?
I don't recall.
I don't know either. But
I
it
didn't
could
know
be-
this
it
is
could
a
go either
romancing.
way.
Yeah, the stone.
But it was written
Jewel of
by
the Nile.
Bob Gale and Zemeckis himself.
Yeah.
Bob Gale was a comic book writer at one point. He wrote the first story arc in the Batman No Man's Land story. Little thing. And the music I want to point out, because the music in this movie is really, really good. That's Alan Silvestri.
Great music.
Like, dude, the da 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 da, dude, it's so good. It hooks you up. It came out July 3rd, 1985. It cost $19 million to make, and in the theaters it made up to $392 million.
when today's money is $100 bazillion.
That's like Blair Witch money back then.
It actually
Yeah,
made the
it's-
most
yeah.
money that year in '85.
Oh, it was number
ruled
one.
the box
Yeah,
office. Yeah.
absolutely. It was so huge that Ronald Reagan even quotes it in his State of the Union in 1986. So, seriously.
Well, Ronald
Because he
Reagan was
says,
an actor.
They
he says where
reference-
we're going,
yeah.
we don't need
Yeah,
wheels.
and they reference him in Back
They
to
do.
the Future.
In fact, when he watched it, apparently he had them rewind it so he could hear that part again because he thought that was really funny. So, do you know who almost played Marty McFly? Anybody?
Eric Stoltz.
Oh, what's
He
the
didn't
story there?
almost. He actually. They filmed a bunch.
Yeah.
They were. They actually wanted Michael J. Fox, but his filming with the show he was on,
Family
which
Ties.
Family Ties,
Family Ties.
he couldn't work around his schedule. So they got Eric Stoltz.
Not a show about time travel.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
There
God.
was a couple episodes there.
at the so they got Eric Stoltz who started filming. I think they filmed. They spent several $1 million filming all these scenes, and there's some scenes still out there. I think if you pick up the box set that's got some behind the scenes stuff, there's even some footage of and they agreed that it just wasn't working out, and so they still wanted Michael J. Fox, and they worked out a deal with the show, and he was doing both for a while. They were filming both.
Drew, what are your memories of Back to the Future? Why do you like it?
Well, we just recently rewatched it, and of course, I love the movie. I've seen it. Oh God, my dad turns it on. It was kind of ruined for me at one point because it would be that type of movie where it's like I don't have control of the remote in my home. It's like my dad turns on something. It's like, oh, I guess we're watching this now. And of course, when Back to the Future's on, well, we can watch Back to the Future. Dad,
It
we
was
just watched
definitely a
it
movie that
yesterday.
people watched on cable a lot.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, still every
without a
year.
doubt.
Yeah, they. I love
Every
the-
year they're like, "This is the year. This is the year."
It's
Damn
like
it.
being caught in a time loop every time it's on cable.
I love the fact that he's called Darth Vader. I
Yeah.
thought that was fun because that movie just come out a few years before that, and they're already referencing it in pop culture.
Yeah, all three had come out, man. I mean, Star Wars had such an impact. You
Yeah.
know, that was nuts. But it immediately was put into movies.
Just already.
And
85.
Back to the Future's like that now. You know, I mean, everything about that movie is cool. You know, John,
Yes.
I'm interested in what you like about the movie.
First off, the DeLorean. Of all the things
I
used for a
figured.
time machine, a
Yeah.
DeLorean.
You know, originally it was going to be a refrigerator, right? It was seriously going to be a refrigerator, and the only way they
Yeah.
could power it in the movie, in the original script, was they had to go
Jell-O.
to Nevada.
Oh, wait, no, that
they
was-
had to go to Nevada where there were nuclear testing. and they had to get power that way. But it was supposed to be a
It's been
refrigerator.
real hard to get up to 88 miles per hour too.
Yeah, well,
I think
yeah,
the
that too.
concept of a
They were afraid that
refrigerator.
kids were gonna-
The
They were afraid
concept
that
of
kids were going to put themselves in the
Yeah.
refrigerator after watching this
I think the
movie.
concept of somebody being in the refrigerator when there's a nuke going off is the dumbest. I hope that's never in a film. That sounds idiotic.
Well, you know, their buddy Spielberg did that.
Yeah, I was about to say Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
You know, I don't... It's off topic, but that movie's not as bad as you guys make it out.
I agree. Let's
Thank
move on.
you. I got you something.
It's not the worst film.
You talk about Eric Stoltz was almost Marty McFly, or he was. John
Not very-
Lithgow was Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, dropped out, and the guy who cast him, who knew him from Buckaroo Banzai, knew Christopher Lloyd. So, speaking of Christopher Lloyd, Justin, what do you think about Back to the Future?
Oh, I love it. What was the Christopher Lloyd segue?
It was you remind me of Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's your silvery hair.
You silver
He
fox.
actually, it is funny that you say that. Christopher Lloyd was one of the things I liked the most about the movie because when I was a kid,
Doc's
I didn't watch a ton of cartoons. I watched old shows like on Nick at Night.
We're gonna say
So I
Taxi?
watched Taxi.
Yeah.
and he like made that show.
Yeah.
And I've loved Christopher Lloyd since I was a kid because of Back to the Future and
Yeah.
just the way he acts and those crazy hair and
A lot of that was
prosthetics.
improvised, apparently, on set. And as being an
Yeah.
actor like you are, I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it is. Improv is a very important thing for an actor, and it makes some of the best scenes in movies sometimes.
But on the bright side, Eric Stoltz, who left the show, he went on to do Fly 2, which is wildly successful, won 4 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I hope Eric
No.
Stoltz doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz, right? Yeah. You know, this movie was originally written in '80. It was rejected by a lot of studios. At one point, some studios were like, "Oh, we want it to be more sexy because this was the day of like stuff like Porky's and stuff like that, right?" So they wanted it to be like that. So there's like, "No, this is more like a Disney film. Go ship it to Disney." And Disney got it, and they were like, "Oh no, his mother's in love
Yeah,
with
they're
him.
like, this is
no,
too
this is
risque.
too much."
Yeah,
for us."
we can't
So
do
they were
this.
stuck in this middle ground, and they finally, after Romancing the Stone, because that movie was hugely successful, they got the green light. They worked with Spielberg and Amblin Entertainment, produced the movie, made a lot of money. AFI top 10 best sci-fi films. It's number 10, and 2 is Star Wars, and 1 is 2001. So number
Okay.
10 is not bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good
Yeah, you
company
got,
to
yeah,
keep.
yeah.
It's good company to keep. I don't know. It's a really good movie. I like it.
Also, when did the DeLorean come out? When was that car created?
Early 80s.
Early 80s, but
They
not
picked it so it could look like
1980?
a spaceship
Well,
to the
maybe
people in the 50s.
But you said they
Yeah,
wrote
sure
the original
did.
script in the 80s or in 1980, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps someone went back in time and delayed the film being made so that they'd have the DeLorean.
Perhaps. Perhaps. That's actually a good ponder. A good
First
ponder.
philosophical thing for the
Yeah.
pop culture.
So happy 30th, Back to the
It would
Future.
have been a Mustang, John. I'm so sorry.
Thank you guys for making the movie. We really appreciate it. Right, everybody? We love this movie.
We have a great film.
Speaking
Great
of
film.
movies,
Of course, Back to the Future is not the only time travel movie. There's a bunch of them. Notably, I'm going to point out one that was the first movie I saw about time travel and the first time machine I saw, which was Time Machine.
Time Machine. The
Aptly
1960 one?
named, yeah, the 60s
Yeah,
one.
that's
yeah.
a cool movie, man.
It's a good one.
There's a lot of great time movies. If you think about it, there's some I think we don't necessarily think are time travel movies, but if you step back and think about it, like, oh, clearly that is, like Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator.
Yeah, if
Terminator.
anybody wants to mention
Terminator
any,
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terminator 3. Terminator,
What?
Terminator Salvation, and Genesis.
Genesis.
Actually,
Genesis.
speaking of Terminator, Justin, aren't you in Genesis?
Yes, that comes out this week.
Yes Assist would have been a Yes Assist.
I hope we
Nice
get to see you. Look out for
plug.
Justin, everybody.
Yeah, the
Dude,
big-
seriously, we got a bona fide fucking
The big
yeah.
person that was on the set of Terminator Genesis here, speaking of time travel.
Are you Sarah Connor in the movie?
yeah, just for a second though.
Man, they changed everything about
That's a lot of
this.
makeup. Yeah,
They
a lot of
changed
it.
a lot. There's lots of plot twists that they didn't give away in the trailer.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa,
I was assaulted.
Terminator's a really good movie, and probably, outside of Back to the Future, might be one of the most popular time travel stories out there.
Drew.
One of my favorite recent ones that came out was Looper. with
Oh,
with
yes.
Bruce
Yes.
Willis.
Love
I haven't
Looper.
seen Looper, but people tell
Looper
me
is
that.
Really
phenomenal.
haven't.
Super good.
It is really good, and the thing is, time travels in it because these. I don't want to spoil it. Now, I got to talking about it, but you haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil it. But some other good ones that I've thought of, Groundhog Day, for
Groundhog
one.
Day.
One
That's
of
great.
the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The fact that he just like becomes so proficient in everything because he redoes it. Everything's like, this man can make an ice sculpture in like less than an hour of this perfectly rendered woman, and he also has time to just lose it. He jumps off buildings, he grabs the ground, he grabs Punxsutawney Phil, takes him in the truck, and just drives off a cliff because he's tired of living the same day.
I love the point in the movie where he's just so tired of it, he's just killing himself like every day.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever. It's like it's just that movie is great. I loved it when I was a kid, and a lot of people don't think of it as a time travel movie, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps going back until he can get the day right, you know. And it just goes to show you how much you can learn if you just took the time.
Aw. One that I don't really hear a lot of people mention is 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys.
Yeah, it's
Those funky
amazing.
It's one of the. It looks incredible. This great like. I remember it's one of the first times I saw Bruce Willis look so frantic. He looks scared throughout the movie. Which, I mean, this is John McClane. He doesn't get scared. I mean, he's a badass, and this guy is just like freaking out, especially when he goes into the past. Like, he doesn't know what's going on. He knows that something's going to happen that's going to kill everybody.
You haven't seen Death Becomes Her, have you?
Oh, with Jack Nicholson?
No, that's Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah, he's
With
in
the
there, but
mustache?
Jack Nicholson's in there too.
Yeah, it's
Goldie
been a while.
Hawn,
Yeah, Goldie Hawn.
and who was the other?
Is it
one?
Meryl Streep?
Meryl
He's all
Streep.
neurotic
Yeah,
in
that's
that,
a good
too.
movie. I remember watching that when I was a kid.
No time
too.
travel, though. Sorry to derail the
Yeah.
conversation.
Speaking of
12 Monkeys is
12 Monkeys, Terry Gilliam was the director. Also did Time Bandits, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
And they can actually jump time and places, but I guess that's relative. I guess so, man.
Yeah,
some places
yeah.
don't discuss that, where they're like, "I left my kitchen and I reappeared in my kitchen 40 years." Like, what? No, the
Yeah,
world.
that's you're in a completely
Yeah.
different point in the universe
Yeah,
at that
so
point.
so
with all the
some
movement of
places
everything.
do acknowledge that, and or some movies, some books, etc., and then some do not. But Time Bandits is phenomenal. That one of my favorite films as a kid. Time Bandits. Robbie.
Well, nobody's mentioned Bill and Ted
The Excellent Adventure.
and Bogus Journey. I really prefer Bogus Journey. That's just me. I like the Reaper. I really do.
I love the Reaper.
Yeah,
The
he's
games
really-
they have to play with the Reaper.
A recent one I want to throw in is Days of Future Past.
Oh,
X-Men. Yeah,
yes.
that's actually handled really well.
Yeah, as much as Fox gets crap for like, oh, they're not good with the Marvel movies, blah blah blah. Dude,
I think they're good.
Days of Future Past was phenomenal.
I was talking to Bobby Hessler earlier today. He said that not necessarily the movie, but he liked how time travel worked in Butterfly Effect.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's an underrated one. That's one of the things. It's like you change anything, and the future can be wildly different. It's
okay.
one. I think it's one of Ashton Kutcher's. Like, is he a great actor? No, but I think that was definitely one he tried his hardest, and it actually turned out pretty well for him.
I don't know. Punked he tried pretty hard on
I
that.
mean, yeah, I guess them both. So
You guys mentioned some good ones. My absolute favorite ones: Army of Darkness
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
and Donnie Darko. So I like
Yeah.
time travel movies with dark in
I
the
was
title.
wondering if anybody else was going to say Army of Darkness.
Yeah, Army of Darkness, dude. First of all, that's just a movie that I loved as a childhood. Donnie Darko is my absolute favorite. I love how they handle time travel in that movie. I like that it's very spiritual. Time travel is in that movie, if that makes sense. And I just love the feeling that movie gives me. It's like unsettled hope. I don't know if that makes sense, but that makes sense to me. I don't know. Donnie Darko, I just think that whole movie's great. And my favorite time travel movie.
You know what I forgot about that I'm going to come back to real quick was I was going to say Christopher Reeve in A Place in Time.
Yeah, you've been talking about that
which
for
is
months,
great film,
and
but you know what I
to
forgot?
mention it.
He's also in Superman, and he spins the world back. I mean, he does.
That's the dumbest instance of time travel in a movie ever.
Wouldn't people just float away? Somewhere in time.
You
I said
just
A Place
killed-
in Time. Somewhere
you
in
just killed
time.
everybody, Superman.
Yeah, somewhere in time. Place in Time is actually a store.
Can you imagine if that movie actually ended with him destroying the world and he's like, well, damn, I really thought that was going to spin. Like, where did that
I thought
even
that
come
was gonna
from?
work.
Where did that idea even come from?
He's like, I should have went to school. Damn it.
Yeah, right. I should have paid attention
Yeah.
in physics class.
I was too busy saving somebody every 3 seconds.
Justin?
but only in Smallville.
I've got a couple, and I'm glad I went last because I like doing the ones that everybody missed.
Oh.
First, let me start with this one, and I want you to read this and see if it's too big of a spoiler to say.
I was going to mention that one because that one's really good.
It is so
So
good.
I'm going to allow it
Okay.
because if you haven't watched it, they're not even going to get it anyway at first.
Yeah,
so go
true.
ahead.
What is it?
Southland Tales.
Southland
Oh, yeah.
Tales. Same
Southland
director as
Tales.
Donnie Darko, Richard
Yeah.
Kelly. A lot of people don't like that film, but that film is fucking
It
brilliant.
is
dude.
so good.
Yes, and it's got time travel in it.
The Rock delivers a tour de force.
I think he really does. Dude, Sean William Scott is amazing in that movie. Everybody, the whole cast.
Yeah.
It's
Will
goofy.
Sasso, half
Oh.
the cast of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
Most Def.
absolutely.
I might catch a little bit of grief from this one, but I wanted to watch it because I was interested in it, and I did watch it a while back. Time Traveler's Wife.
I've never seen that, but I know the movie you're talking about.
Isn't it
Okay.
sweet?
Who's the main guy? Because I remember the trailer.
I can't remember. I'm trying
Awesome.
to.
It's
Awesome.
Like, it was
is
really
that,
sad.
Is that the one with Cyclops? Is he the main guy?
James Marston, or is
I
it,
know he was in.
or is it Jesus?
Who's
the
the dude
Jim-
from Grey's Anatomy?
Is it-
Is that him?
Oh.
I can't remember.
I don't
Dreamy?
watch
Let's
Grey's
just pretend I
Anatomy.
didn't even say that. It was a sad movie.
Okay.
I watched this movie on Netflix a couple.
Are you naming like 20 fucking movies?
Well, I wanted to know if you guys have seen it. It's called Love. It's on Netflix.
No.
I've
It's
never
produced
s-
by that band.
Nobody at this table's ever seen Love.
The band. That's sad.
Show's over, man.
My turn is so sad.
How dare you?
But it was produced by the guys from Angels and Airwaves. You know who they are?
I know Angels in the Outfield.
Well,
You
what?
talking about the mediocre band?
Yeah. Just watch it sometime. I felt like I was on like 36 different drugs while I was watching it, and I was stone cold sober. So it's a trippy movie.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold sober.
And I'm not gonna let my turn end without bringing up Star Trek:
Star Trek.
First Contact.
First Contact is the best time travel Star Trek movie.
Yes.
There's also Voyage Home
When I was a kid, Voyage Home was my favorite.
and the
because
Abrams.
whales.
The Abrams
Yeah, I was
film,
gonna say,
Star
don't
Trek.
they-
That's time
yeah.
travel.
That's
Yeah.
time travel too.
And they really messed some things up in it and didn't fix it. They weren't like Doc Brown and Marty McFly and like, let's go back and fix it. They were just like, well, we fucked
Yeah.
Vulcan up.
Well,
This is just how
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
All
Spoilers
right.
if you haven't seen that. An entire very important planet in the franchise is destroyed.
Absolutely.
so is a race. I mean, they're pretty much fucked.
Yeah, a good bit of them. And the Voyage Home, you got all the whales and the funny clothes and nuclear
Yeah.
vessels.
Save the whales.
Yeah.
Yeah, they needed to.
Sponsored by Greenpeace.
just a big ass Greenpeace ad.
Speaking of whales, we're about to get into H.G. Wells
Oh.
right after this break. So we'll be right back. Thank you for listening.
Hello there, and thank you for listening to the Pop Culture Philosophers. Be sure to check out our website, www.popculturephilosophers.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page, Pop Culture Philosophers, and find us on Facebook, Pop Culture Philosophers. In fact, each time you share a post of ours on Facebook, you're entered to win that month's contest. A new contest every month. Every month, a new winner. And now, back to the show, Pop Culture Philosophers.
Welcome back. Speaking of time travel, we were actually talking specifically about Time Machine, the H.G. Wells book, and then subsequently the film. I want to talk about H.G. Wells a little bit. Pretty prolific British writer. Most people don't know his full name was Herpes Gonorrhea Wells. No, it was. I think it was Herbert George Wells. Actually, great writer. Time Machine, Island of Dr. Moreau. Invisible Man,
Yeah.
War of the Worlds.
War of the World.
I think actually Goldsmith knows a little bit more about him if you'd like to speak about him.
Yeah,
He went to school with them, right?
yeah, we used to go bowling.
I forgot you went to that British school.
Yeah, for a while back in the
Hogwarts.
in the 15s.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, he is very interesting behind the text as well as in the text. He studied biology before he did any kind of writing. So
That's
he was.
right,
I
yeah.
don't know if he was going to be a doctor or a biologist.
Yeah, so he's well schooled,
yeah, well,
or a biology teacher.
But yeah, he got into biology and he was looking into the ethics of medicine, I think.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then he started getting into politics from there, and he became well known for being a socialist.
Wells known.
Wells known. He was a Wells. He was socialist, and
Yes.
he was very outspoken about that.
Like an actual like Marx socialist or like an Obama socialist?
well, in the
you
beginning,
got to let me know the difference here.
in the beginning, he liked Marxism and stuff like that, but it became too stringent and too.
Like an oxypad.
Yeah, is that a
That's a strange
female product? No, he didn't like how it was so. There was no individual thought, and he was very much against that because he was a big rights guy. Like he talked about how black people got treated terribly back then.
Okay.
And he was one of the few people that spoke out about that.
Okay, very progressive.
Yeah, and his whole political stance and the thing that he kept coming back to was a unified world state.
Yes.
And with the rights of the individual and his ideal
that
world.
inspired Hulk Hogan
Hulk Hogan.
and Kevin Nash and
Yeah,
Razor Ramon. I can't remember his real name right now for some reason.
Scott Hall.
Scott Hall.
Scott
There we
Hall,
go.
Kevin Nash.
Wrestling
Hulk
fans are
Hogan.
happy. We mentioned wrestling,
Yes.
so keep watching,
but that
listening.
that fact that he did all this science fiction stuff, he was way before his time doing this stuff. He was also well ahead of his time.
Wells ahead of his time.
Oh my God, this pun.
He was wells ahead of his time with his political stance as well, because he was a big proponent of the League of Nations that Woodrow Wilson was setting up.
that became the UN eventually.
Yeah, well, no, it didn't become that.
No, but it inspired the
Yeah.
United Nations.
Yeah,
I think you're
everybody.
thinking of the Justice League. Is what you're thinking.
Everybody eventually got, or
They
a
did a
lot of people
horrible
eventually
job.
got behind that after the League of Nations failed, and then they came out with the UN. So
The sequel.
he was, and it was better.
League of
Oddly enough.
Nations 2.
The J-
United Nations.
Electric Boogaloo.
The JLA to the JL.
Another thing about H.G. Wells, not a lot of people know, he's one of the creators of the war game. Like, not the movie with Matthew Broderick, but like Warhammer, Civil War, where people will come in and like have models.
Miniatures.
Oh yeah, he wrote some
miniature
rules and
gaming,
stuff like
war
that for
miniature
war
gaming.
games.
Yeah, he kind of created that and played it, on the regular basis as his time of leisure.
I heard he was also the Reverse Flash.
yeah, right.
Dr. Wells.
Yeah.
Can't believe no one else made that reference yet.
But on the pages and off the pages, a man wells ahead of his time.
Wells ahead.
To Wells.
All right. Well, we've been talking about time travel, and we're about to get into the actuality of time travel. But before we do, I got another question. If you could travel back in time, and we can't say forward in time because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But if you could travel back in time, what musical act would you go see, Justin?
The first thing that popped into my head was going back in time to see Beethoven himself perform.
Oh, yeah.
the Moonlight
I didn't
Sonata.
go back that far. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, like listening to classical music on the radio or like some contemporary recordings of old stuff is fine, but I think it would be really, really interesting to see the man that wrote it, who was deaf, actually play it.
That would be dope.
Dumb. Yeah, what'd I say?
I said that would be dope.
You said,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be dope, is what I said.
Yes. I thought you were correcting me and saying dumb.
"Are you deaf?" Is that part of the joke?
Yes, that would be dumb. Moving on.
I'm so stupid. Cut this out.
Drew, who'd you go see?
Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, that's mine too.
Oh,
Jimi Hendrix.
damn it.
Absolutely.
That's
My
why we're
second is
friends.
Bob Marley. If I had to go to. Then John Lennon. I prefer to see him with the Beatles, I guess.
Well,
but
I guess
then there'd be other bands over the Beatles.
if
I don't know.
there someone who a band that isn't dead or dying off, but the one that I would love to see if they were still together would be Led Zeppelin. If they were still together,
I go Clash.
okay, yeah.
I would love
Or
if Strummer was still around too.
even better,
yeah.
as someone who is dead, that Freddie Mercury.
Oh, the Queen.
Yeah,
Yes.
Queen.
Absolutely. That'd be really good.
Yeah,
Hendrix. Any particular one? I go Woodstock.
exactly.
Right, you gotta go
He did a
there.
hell of a show.
It's the
yeah.
the biggest one and his most impactful, I think. And
Yeah.
I just want to hear Little Wing.
Such
I want to hear.
oh. See, most people would say Star Spangled Banner.
No.
But you said Little Wing, so hell yeah. Speaking of Little Wings, John.
Probably the sound of me playing Goldsmith's Smile.
Seriously, man.
The Beatles, man. You've already mentioned the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
already
yeah.
kind of stole my thunder. The Beatles. It'd be so awesome to see the Beatles.
Yeah,
I
I
think
guess
other than
that'd be
that,
cool.
like you said,
I mean,
Queen.
Pink Floyd back in the day.
Yeah.
That would be really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But as Justin got into Mozart, Bach,
Yeah. Chopin.
you know, Chopin.
Chopin was my favorite of the classical music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
You know, you never really think about it, but there's not recordings of them actually.
like
doing
what it
drugs.
actually sounded like when they were composing, or I mean, they were mostly composers. Were they out there conducting? I don't know about that.
I don't know.
They performed for people. I know that on piano.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, that would be dope. That'd be really cool. What about Robert Johnson? That'd be a cool one.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good one. So the science of time travel, if you will. Well, the science of time. This is what science says about time travel. It doesn't exist. We can't do it. Wrong. All right. So the whole idea of time travel, like we were talking about H.G. Wells because he wrote The Time Machine. He wrote those awesome books. But The Time Machine kind of brought time travel up into popular culture, if you will. Newtonian physics, where everything is static and absolute and the same, says that time travel's impossible. But later on, Einstein, boom, general and special relativity. So there are a few ways through that, and a few ways through quantum mechanics, that time travel could kind of happen. All right, so time dilation. Everybody knows about that. The faster you move, especially in perspective to something else, time slows down for you. Okay? So there's the whole twin paradox. You got twins. You send one off in a spaceship, shoot him off near the speed of light, and he comes back, and the other twin that stayed on Earth is old, and then the one that went off in space is not. So there's some time dilation there. Also, the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time goes for you into the perspective of something else.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you went beyond the speed of light, so if we could shoot matter or information beyond the speed of light, okay? If we could do that, then it would appear as if we got the signals, like if we sent a signal, right? At certain frames, you would get that signal before the signal had been sent. Because when you exceed the speed of light, which we don't have the energy to do this, but if you did, you would kind of go back in time a little bit. So there's that, right? There's whole the wormhole theory, right?
Right.
If there's wormholes that connect space-time, space-time's actually one thing.
The Einstein-Rosen bridge.
Yeah. And if you're connected to another point in space, which also equates to another point in space-time. So there you go. Gravity wells, moving faster than light. Parallel worlds is proposed by quantum theory, right? So if you go back, you don't really have to worry about changing things because you really just went to a parallel universe. And you going back in time brings that about. That might be something like that brought about the time paradox in Donnie Darko. That movie starts with the time paradox. We don't know what causes it, but we know that it happens. And so he's trying to fix that. But those are some of the ideas about time travel and how it could actually possibly be a real thing. Of course, we're not there. It requires tremendous amounts of energy to which we do, as humans right now, at our level of achievement, have access to no way at all. Was that Yoda that just framed that sentence?
I suppose so. Maybe he did.
I heard you only need 1.21 gigawatts.
And 88 miles per hour.
Yeah. Weird combination.
You know, Lloyd ad-lib gigawatts instead of gigawatts because most physicists
Use
actually say
gig, yeah.
gigawatts.
Well, do they?
Yeah, they say gigawatts.
Was it before or after that?
Either is
Before or after
acceptable.
the GIF and the GIF? Same thing.
It's a GIF.
It's a GIF.
What kind of peanut butter is that? Giphy? Like, no, that never happened. It's Jiffy. We'll be right back. When we come back, time travel TV shows and favorite time machines. Ooh la la.
Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here. I want to talk to you real quick about our YouTube channel. You got to get on the YouTube and subscribe to Pop Culture Philosophers. There you're going to get video previews of the latest podcasts, you get tons of video blogs, and of course special announcements and contest winners announced all the time. So, get on YouTube and subscribe. In fact, you're even going to get my brand new series, Super Mythology, for free. Oh my goodness, it's like a 99-cent value. You got to check it out. Thank you guys.
Hello, your favorite announcer here again. Just to let you know that you can advertise your business on this show and this spot, actually. In fact, our rates are so low, if you're a beer company, we'll advertise it for free beer. Now back to the show. Pop Culture Philosophers with John Hammertime Holtshoe and Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. We were talking earlier about H.G. Wells, talking about time travel movies, the science of time travel. Let's talk a little bit about time travel television, TTTV, if you will.
That's a really good subject.
Yeah, Drew, do you have a particular television show that deals with time travel you'd like to discuss?
One that a lot of people don't really think of, but it's time travels everywhere.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
Simpsons.
show.
Wait a
Yes.
minute.
Hey, one of my favorite episodes, the Treehouse of Horror. I can't remember the exact one. It has to do with the toaster. He grabs the toaster, and every time he goes back in time, and he tries to avoid stepping on anything.
Oh, it just gets worse and worse,
yeah,
right?
he keeps getting worse
I
and worse
forgot
at
about
it.
that.
And eventually, he goes through the entire the maze, and he's just like, oh, yes. And then he sits down, and he lands on the first fish to ever crawl out of the primordial ooze. And he just goes, oh, I wish I hadn't killed that fish. But one of the ones that, other than The Simpsons, that people don't think of is Lost. Even though that
Yes.
Lost has everything to do with time travel, this mystical
Lost
island.
is a great show.
But one episode in particular, I think it's actually one of my favorite episodes of any kind of TV at all ever, is called The Constant. It's the 5th episode of season 4. It's just one of the best episodes of anything that I've ever seen.
It's a good one.
Goldsmith?
Okay, so I watch a lot of TV shows. Quantum Leap is probably one of the best and most interesting and original takes on time travel ever.
Definitely.
Sam Beckett is in this project funded by the government. It's him and a buddy of his, Al,
Yeah.
who's an admiral in the Navy, and he observes the project, and they sync their brainwaves up so they can communicate when he goes to time travel. And so he does it, and what it does is he steps into the chamber, and he basically swaps consciousnesses. Conscious night with someone in the past, but he can only travel within his own lifetime. And they get around that a couple times, but it's so cool because he's in the past, and Al gets projected into the past so Sam can see him. He's projected as a hologram.
Yeah, because like his guide.
Yeah, and they're the best on-screen duo ever. Better than Mulder and Scully, Kirk and Spock. We'll come back to Star Trek in a
Abbott
second.
and Costello.
Better than Abbott and Costello. A holographic partner from the future. How cool is that?
He's done better than Hurley.
Quantum
and
Leap's
Jid.
also. Tons of Star Trek episodes.
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Star Trek. In my opinion, best time travel story ever, City on the Edge of Forever
Yeah,
from the original Star Trek series.
really, really good. You can't save that woman. You know she's going to die, but you can't save her.
Let's get the hell out of here.
There were... Which series do you think had more time travel episodes?
Next Generation.
It was Voyager.
I should have known. They got very gimmicky.
Well, they had to get 70,000 light years, so...
Yeah. They had some time to fill.
Yeah. Every series of Star Trek has a lot of time travel in it, and they're all so good. The finale
yesterday's
of
All Good Things.
All Good Things. That's one of the best episodes, too.
All Good Things is seriously like one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek, period. And yesterday's Enterprise is really good. Trials and Tribulations, DS9.
Trials and Tribulations.
Whatever.
Because Tribbles.
Yeah, Tribbles. Dude.
That was so cool because they go...
Great.
Yeah, they go back in time, and it's actually... like the Defiant gets sent back in time, and it actually superimposes some of the cast of Deep Space Nine into the original series episode. It's so cool because they're interacting with Kirk and Spock, and they dress up the Captain Sisko and them in the
they start
original series
the fight with the Klingons in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
O'Brien
gets into it.
I will also mention Doctor Who. I know nobody else here is a big Doctor Who fan. Doctor Who is probably right now the most popular. It is the most popular television show ever about time travel. Doctor Who. Doctor Who's really good, old and new. I'm mostly familiar with the new, but it's really good. You said Lost. You said Star Trek. That's everything I had to say already.
Dude, we're not going to move away from this subject. I don't know if anybody else has any more shows, but we're not going away from this without talking about a show that probably nobody knows anything about. It came on Spike for a long time. It's called 7 Days.
I have no idea.
Nobody. They took the Roswell crash and they used that ship that crashed to build a sphere.
Now, I remember the show Roswell.
It's not that.
Because that show was bad too.
They built a sphere, and the fuel that the engine that powered the ship bends space-time, and they have just enough fuel left to power this sphere that they built, and the fuel regenerates itself up to the certain point that it was at, so they have enough of it to be able to send the sphere back in time 7 days. Such an underrated show. It's got so many cool characters, and that's probably my favorite time travel favorite time machine is that sphere, just because it has limitations and it's only used for good. And
the whole like it regenerates itself after so many days seems a little gimmicky.
No, the
like
fuel,
they have unlimited,
it's like
but
a crystal.
It's a
crystal.
It's a crystal. Well, never
But
mind.
the way
then. I feel like an asshole.
It uses a charge when it goes back, and then it takes a while for it to regenerate.
Okay.
It's like having a battery and charging the battery.
John, what are your favorites?
I can't really think of any time travel shows other than I wasn't a big Star Trek fan. I am familiar with Quantum Leap. I watched a little Quantum Leap. I like Quantum Leap. I can't think of a lot of other time travel shows.
What about Terminator?
The
Sarah Connor
series?
Chronicles.
Yeah. The short-lived series. Didn't really watch it. I really can't think of any. Yeah. I mean, there's episodes that deal with... I would say if we're going to deal with time travel, and this is somewhat... Yeah, this deals with time travel, because there is some time travel, and then, of course, the being Frozen, which we talked about the time travel there. Futurama, I guess. Because
suspended animation works.
Yeah, Fry is frozen, sent to the future, but there is parts where there is a time travel episode specifically where he goes around. They actually watch the world end, and they come back around in a loop to where he was. Like that's how time works. You can just circle the whole, back to, and it's the same people.
Was that the finale, the last of the series?
I don't. There's been a couple finales, but I don't think it was the finale.
All right. Well, we talked about time travel TV. I got a question. I think everybody here, I think it's safe to say we're sports guys. A lot of people think that pop culture philosophers can't be sports guys, but I think we're sports guys.
Yeah.
We're manly men.
Yeah.
Justin less so, but
Since the accident.
If you could go back in time, what sporting event would you go see? Holshoe. Let's ask you first.
66 24 hours of Le Mans. 1966. This is when Ford, just a little history here. Ford didn't want to race. Ford was more interested in building cars. Ferrari wanted to race and didn't want to build cars. So they decided, hey, we'll work together. Well, old man Ferrari pissed off old man Ford. This is actually Henry Ford Jr. So Henry Ford Jr. decided to build a race team and go kick Ferrari's ass. And they did just that. And Le Mans, 24 Hours Le Mans 66 was a big deal because they won with a Ford GT40 coupe. And it was just an amazing, amazing event. So I would love to go back and see that. And it's a 24-hour race, so I'm getting my money's worth if I go back and watch a 24-hour race.
Okay, well, that's really boring. What about you, Justin?
I don't know. I don't watch a ton of sports. I'd probably go watch.
Not a manly man.
Not a man.
I'd go watch some race that Steve McQueen was in. That'd be cool.
Oh,
or maybe next year's World Series. Come back with some knowledge.
Yeah, go forward and come back with some knowledge. That's a good idea.
Or
Yankees
maybe that time Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed.
Ooh. Too soon on me. Me, myself, I would go 1937 World Series. Yankees won over the Giants. New York, right? Mm-hmm. Gehrig still at his peak and DiMaggio steaming up. So, like, that's what I would want to see. Like, absolutely.
Greats.
Absolutely. It's the greats. You can't see Ruth, Gehrig, and DiMaggio at the same time. So to me, it's 37. It's in New York. It's the second year they beat New York. That was in the midst of 4 consecutive. I think I added an extra letter in there. 4 consecutive World Series.
Consciousness.
And that's the second one against the Giants in that year. What about you, Drew?
I think just from knowing you guys, I think I watch like the widest variety because I mean you're obviously John and Robbie, you're obviously baseball guys. You love baseball.
Oh yeah, I love baseball.
And then racing with John, and then Justin doesn't watch any.
I like basketball and football, but I mostly watch baseball.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's what you're about.
I find myself sometimes watching tennis. It's
I don't know how that happens.
like
it
male
always,
tennis.
Yeah.
Especially when it's on clay. That really excites me.
Or you can't find the remote. So I guess I'll watch the tennis.
Yeah, but there's a few, especially just in the history of America itself. You have 1936 Olympics in Germany. Hitler's there. This was like the Aryan race is so superior. An American, Jesse Owens, black guy, he wins medal after medal and just puts it in Hitler's face, just like, you think that Aryans are superior and this black guy is just winning, just beating all these Aryans, these superiors. Then if another Olympics moment, the miracle on ice.
Oh yeah, with Kurt Russell.
Sure. This was huge because it was right in the Cold War. It was the U.S. versus the Soviet Union. But
there was no way America won that.
There was no way because that team should not have won. This is why it's a miracle, because there were no professional hockey players on that team. These were college guys, and the Soviets
weren't allowed, right? Professionals weren't allowed yet.
They were not allowed yet, and the Soviets were all professional. They were the all-stars. They were the dream team. I read an
article when I was in the hospital, in the waiting room. There was an article in some sports magazine, and they were talking about that, dude, and it blew me away about what that Russian team went through. Like the oppression, actually. They were like products. Mm-hmm. You know, they weren't people.
It was a factory.
Yeah, it was a factory, and the hockey team was a factory. And if you didn't perform, you got like severe punishment, and you got banishment even. Like
they turned you into hot dogs, Russian hot dogs.
All they wanted to do was come here and play.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just nuts. They didn't get that until the late 80s.
So, Robbie, we're talking about books, we're talking about sporting events, etc.
Yeah, what would we do?
How about who would you meet? If you can go back in time, if you can meet somebody.
Like a historical figure.
Yeah, historical. I would say historical. I guess if you didn't, they weren't, we might not know who you were talking about.
Who would you meet?
I'm probably going to say maybe John DeLorean.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of DeLorean cars, I actually have John DeLorean's autograph. I was a big fan of his work. You know, he gave us the Firebird. He gave us the GTO. He's a big guy in car culture. People most remember, I don't know, maybe the cocaine or maybe the DeLorean itself, but he's still a pretty monolithic guy in automotive culture.
All right, that's legit. If I had to go back in time, I Ben Franklin. Anybody who's ever listened to any of the podcasts we've done or Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie, all about the Benjamins, kind of started because of my obsession with Benjamin Franklin. I love Ben Franklin. I would love to talk to him. Like, absolutely. Like, I'd hang out drinking for a night with Ben Franklin. What about you, Drew?
A guy that I'd love just to meet Alexander the Great, because
Okay.
I'm huge military history, and Alexander the Great, for being so young,
Yeah, dude, right?
he conquered the known world, and
In like early 30s or something.
late 20s, I think.
Oh my goodness! See what I'm saying?
He
Don't you feel like after that your life has just been wasted in comparison? Like,
Yeah,
wow, I'm such a piece of shit.
I went from Greece to India and conquered Egypt without hardly a fight. Like he was like, and he got proclaimed a god, and he's like, and believed it too. He believed he was a god. He believed he was Zeus Amon reborn. And then just like he conquered the unconquerable city of Tyr, he cut the Gordian knot, like all these huge mythic tales, and just won him the people. And then when he died, that place went to hell.
That's a really good answer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to retract mine now.
What about you, Justin?
If I could go back in time and change my answer.
I thought Napoleon at first, but he's kind of a dick. So I think Leonardo da Vinci would be really
Oh, that's a really good one.
really
You
interesting.
know,
to talk
a
to.
lot of military strategists would go meet Napoleon. Mm-hmm. They would just also be like, your shit at Waterloo is wrong.
Yeah. Why would you ever go to Russia? What's wrong with
In
you?
the winter.
Yeah.
Like, come on, French boy, come on.
So
Da
if you
Vinci
go,
he does
Da Vinci's great.
everything.
but if you go back
he
in time,
drew,
is
he
it like
painted, he did lots of math,
He invented
invented
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all kinds of things.
invented the flying machine.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not strong enough to
Another man
to work it. But
ahead of his time.
yeah, led to the movie Hudson Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
people
Absolutely.
forgot about it?
And
I
I,
love
loved
that
his
movie.
work in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, I was about to say he helped out Ezio. I love how you just threw in. He did lots of math.
Let's talk about favorite time machine, because I think we touched briefly on the DeLorean. Time machine. Robbie, favorite time machine? Do you have something in mind?
Well, I definitely
Or
have to go with,
vessel of time, should I
yeah,
say.
I definitely have to go with Doctor Who's TARDIS. Time and relative dimension of space. It's super awesome. It's the British phone box, police box, but it's a tesseract basically. It's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It's infinite. You can go anywhere in space and time that you want. It's a little uncontrollable, but it always takes you to where you need to go. Really like that one. Also, honorable mention to Bill and Ted's phone booth. Mm-hmm. So
They're similar. Very
very
similar, actually.
Except
They're
for
both
Bill and
booths.
Ted's phone booth is actually kind of cramped.
Yes.
But it comes with George Carlin.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially when they cram
Yeah.
him in there. Goldsmith?
Robbie, I'm glad you gave an honorable mention because I already said my favorite earlier is The Sphere from 7 Days. Watch that show.
Okay.
My honorable mention goes to the Time-onometer from an episode of Quantum Leap. Do you remember the episode where he called Future Boy?
Yeah, not
He was
at
on
all.
a show.
Not at all.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he
No.
leaped into this guy who was the sidekick on a TV show, and the main actor was this older guy, and his daughter and everybody thought he was going crazy because he was building this time machine in his basement. And I took some screenshots because I couldn't find them anywhere. I had to go pull it up on Netflix and actually take screenshots.
People listening to the podcast love screenshots.
Yeah.
They're
Maybe
being
Robbie can
shared
put them in
among
the video.
the...
Nudge,
Oh,
nudge,
that's
wink,
wild
wink.
looking.
It's just
Yeah.
cobbled together with a bunch of stuff out of his basement.
Yeah, it's got a fan on there and
Yeah,
like
and
a
what's-
black light.
And
Dream,
what's really
Sega
cool
Dreamcast.
is
Oh,
he
yeah.
ends up getting in it towards the end of the episode, and it doesn't work. He doesn't go anywhere, so he's like all disappointed and stuff. But
Because it's just a fan and a black
he
light.
actually starts to leap, and that was really cool. Because apparently that's the only way you can time travel.
Drew? Vessel?
I think my favorite
Method of traveling?
looking one, the movie, the Guy Pearce Time Machine was not a great movie by any means, but I liked a lot of the look, and one of the best looking things about it was the actual time machine itself. It was very steampunky. It had a lot of brass moving parts, created this big field around it, just this whirring thing. It made you feel like this could take me anywhere, anytime. I loved the look of the thing.
I'm gonna go with, like I said, the DeLorean, which we talked about.
Yeah.
Love the DeLorean. I think that's it. I think we're time traveled out.
Yeah, I almost wish we could go back in
In
time
time.
and redo this episode because it's been so much fun.
Yes.
Aw.
Maybe our listeners will go back in time and listen to the episode again.
Oh, maybe.
If
they
only
will.
there was some sort of way to do that on the internets.
That's right. Check out the website.
Check out the new website, which is going to be what the hell is it? www.popculturephilosophers.com.
Yeah.
So you'll have the archive
Check
from
out the
previous
YouTube
shows,
channel.
YouTube. Yeah.
Please subscribe. Share this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not on the Twitter, but who cares?
Yeah, right?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, find us on the website. We're constantly having contests. Check us out. Share us. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Next time on Pop Culture Philosophers, stuck in the 90s.
We're going to travel back into the 90s and get stuck there?
Speaking of time travel, going back to the 90s, getting stuck there. I grew up in the 90s. You grew up in the 90s. We love the 90s. We're going to have Scott. We're going to have Jelani with us. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton's not going to be on the show. I heard he was going to be on the show.
No,
he keeps
we're
ditching
trying to
us.
get him.
I was waiting for you to make that joke.
He was waiting for Stuck in the 80s. Right, but, yeah. But next time's going to be a fun episode. I hope you guys continue to check us out.
Stuck in the 90s. I would like to thank Justin Goldsmith for being on the show again. I look forward to Terminator Genesis, which you are in.
Yeah, the big climax scene where John Connor's giving the speech. I'm next to the Jeep.
So when he climaxes, you're in the scene.
Yeah.
The money shot, if you will.
Drew Madsen for being on the show.
Thank you very
Not
much.
in Terminator Genesis. He was in Salvation, I think.
Like we try not to talk. If you learn nothing from this whole thing, don't go back. What's wrong with you?
And Robbie, my cohorts.
Yeah, I guess so. We're cohorts. Yeah. And I was in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. I was in that one. I was one of the guns.
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Terminator 3, Rage Against the Machines. It was low budget. They axed it, and then they went with the other one.
Yeah. I was in, of course, the Terminator porn knockoff. Live with me if you want to come.
Oh my God. End the show.
Damn, this is terrible.
We have to go back and fix this. Worth it.
I'm sorry. Let's just cut that all out.
No, we can't. It's too late, John.
Let's cut it all. Let's start over a half hour ago.
Bye.
If only we could time travel.
If only we could time travel.
Oh, it's so
All right,
worth
thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Same bat channel, same bat. All right, fuck that up. We're just gonna go. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Nice. Stuck in the 90s. Like
Go
us,
have some
share
drinks
us,
if you
love
get
us.
this.
Like a good
Bye.
neighbor, State Farm is there. Bye.